Hey everyone, I'm glad you joined me today. Let's put together a couple of containers with some summer annuals. My name is Bobby and I am in a zone 6B/7 and the gnats are attacking me today, but I'm pretty well after my last frost date, so I think we're all good. I went to the nursery, I bought some summer annuals. I grow a lot of my things from seed. I have to go inside and get some sunglasses. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. We have a lot of gnats because we live in the Shenandoah Mountains. There's always a lot of gnats. So we're going to pot these up with some annuals, and I either will keep them both or keep one and give one away. I don't know which I'm going to do for sure, but we'll see. And they do have a drainage hole. You can see there the drainage hole. Now, a lot of times when it only has one drainage hole, I will go ahead and drill a few more. But this is such a large drainage hole that I think it's going to be fine. You want plenty of drainage, but actually you don't want too much because you don't want your pots drying out too quickly. Okay, well, some people when they're filling a container will use cans, old cans, or plastic bottles, something like that to put some volume in the bottom of their container. I do not care to do that. I don't like to do that. I've never done that. I just personally don't like to do that. However, I will use some inexpensive topsoil just as the bottom layer of my container. I don't mind doing that, and I prefer to do that. It does save a little bit. So basically, you really only need about 10 to 12 inches of good potting soil. And you really don't want to use topsoil exclusively. It's too heavy. Now this particular topsoil though, looks like it has quite a bit of compost in it. And it doesn't look super heavy, but it just wouldn't, it's just too heavy. You want a potting mix or a potting soil. So I've got it, what is that, 2/3 of the way full of the topsoil. And then I just have some leftover potting soil from different projects. This is mostly, leftover from my winter jug sowing. This is what I use because it's really all I can find in the winter that's not frozen. So when I do my winter jug sowing, that's what I use. And there's, oh goody, all kinds of stuff in that bag. Not quite enough soil, so I'm going to add some of this new soil. I don't have a huge preference on potting mix. However, I don't like the super, I'll just go ahead and say it, cheap kind. It has a lot of junk in it, and it just, I don't love it. I don't like it. It would be good for a bottom layer, but I just don't like it. I like to go ahead and spend a little bit more money and, I'm getting potting soil, and get a better potting soil. I'm going to go ahead and put some slow release fertilizer in here. It's amazing what the slow release fertilizer does. My spring containers, if you've seen them in any of my videos, just went wild, overtook. They just really grew. And it was because I put a little bit of slow release fertilizer in them. So I've got both containers filled. I do need to put some of the slow release fertilizer in this one. I don't forget. Okay, so I have a variety of flowers. I will always use salvia. I'm a salvia girl. The pollinators love salvia. This one is called Mystic Spires Blue, and all of these annuals like full sun. So I'm going to sort of place and see. I'm going to do both of the containers exactly the same. This is white Angelonia. I also am a big fan of Angelonia. It says Archangel. Makes a heavenly combination in containers. What could be better than that? And I'm also a girl who sticks away. Please don't throw rocks at me, but I usually stay away these days and have for the last quite a few years from any kind of Supertunia, Petunia, things like that. The reason being is I don't like to deal with the budworms that love petunias. Budworms love the flowers of petunias, and I don't want to spray. So I did decide I was going to try to find something that would pair, that would maybe put off a little bit of odor and ward off the budworms. It's kind of an experiment for me. This is Supertunia. This is Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. It has a little smaller bloom on it, and the Supertunia Vistas grow incredibly well. So we shall see how we do, and I'll probably maybe like even tilt it forward a little bit. I also got some Dichondra Silver Falls for my spiller, and I can already see I'm getting super full here in this container. And I did get a sage, but I'm not seeing the thing I got to ward off the smell. I'll have to go in the greenhouse. I think it must be in the greenhouse because it's a creeping oregano. But this is golden sage. I'm not sure I'm going to plant this in this container. I might just plant this out in the landscape because this is going to get very large, as well all of these. And I want to give them plenty of room because they're going to have quite a few months growing in this container. And it's not that huge. It's probably about, what is that, a 14-inch container? So it's not super huge. And then I have some Alyssum, but let me go in the greenhouse and get that oregano and we'll see if we can fit that in here. So excuse me, it's not oregano, it's creeping rosemary. And rosemary is one of the herbs that does actually ward off bad bugs, just because I love the smell of rosemary, but apparently bugs don't always. Oregano is also a good companion to ward off bugs, but I was thinking it was oregano, which I'm kind of glad it's not, because oregano can be a bit of a thug, can take over. So I'm not sure about this creeping rosemary. If it's a thug, I wouldn't think it would be. Any other rosemary I've already used has never been. So I thought this was really cute, this little creeping rosemary. So we'll probably do something like this and like this. Rosemary would like go here right next to this Supertunia. And then if we can fit any of this white Alyssum in, we will do that. It's called Clear Crystal White. If you can't get your annual out of the pot, just squeeze it until it comes out. I'm going to have to open up this bag of potting soil. I think I need a little bit extra. So I'm tilting that a little bit forward so it can be a little bit of a spiller. And if you have to, you can remove some of the bottom of the root ball. I've done that before, but I don't think I'm going to have to in this case. So I just want to make sure there's plenty of soil around the plant itself. Let's go ahead and put this salvia in, because I do have kind of a space here. Okay. Now we'll put this Angelonia in fairly close to the salvia. The salvia, you know, can get very large, but when the roots are somewhat restricted, it's only going to grow as large as it's allowed, really. In reality, one salvia in this pot is probably all that is needed, but I never do that. Hardly ever. I am going to do that in a couple pots. I have some big salvias I'm going to get, and I am going to do that in a couple of pots. Just one salvia, because the hummingbirds and the pollinators Love it. Okay, we want to get this dichondra in here, and then we want to squeeze that rosemary in there. Let's take this tag out. I think I have just enough room to squeeze the rosemary. I was pretty excited to find this. I had never actually seen creeping rosemary before. So it's right next to this Supertunia. Let's see if it works to keep the budworms away. So I'm just kind of tucking the soil in. I want to make sure all the root ball is covered. So my soil is just below the lip of the container, and that'll keep the soil from coming out of the pot when I water it. It's just below the lip. And I will have to end up cutting off some of this dichondra as it grows, because it will grow and take root in the ground, and I don't necessarily want it to do that where I have it, where I will have this container. I think I shouldn't, but I think I'm going to stick one Alyssum plant, because these are smaller, in this little hole here. And I know I probably shouldn't, because it's probably crowding it too much, but anywho, that's what we're doing. Oh, look at that. I like these really small in the little 6-packs, because you can just sort of use your fingers as a drill and make a hole, and it's easy. Kind of tempted to do one more Alyssum. I know it's going to get covered up. I'm going to give in to this temptation. This is a good temptation. I'm just drilling a hole here with my fingers. Now, after I move this to where it's going to be, and it's going to be in full sun, you can see we're in the shade right now, but then I will water it, just so it won't be so heavy to carry. So how does that look? Kind of level it up here so you can see. I think that's going to be so pretty. I'm going to do this other one exactly the same, and then we'll say goodbye. And it's not that heavy. See, it's not that heavy to move without the water in it. All right, we're all done, and I will share a little bit of footage of where I place these after I carry them over, and when the sun is not so harsh on that area. As I said, these will get full sun, and I will also, I have some bulb waterers that I will probably add to these, that, the little bulb waterers, and then they release the water slowly. So I'll probably add those. They're kind of crystal looking or clear looking. That's probably one of the main things you need to consider with a planter this size. It can dry out quickly, especially if you have it in full sun. So you want to keep that in mind, and if you maybe have a drip system you could add to it. I used to have a drip system all up in front of my house, but I've since removed that just because there were a lot of cords and tubing and everything to that. So I don't do that anymore, but you just do want to consider. And then you could use a water soluble fertilizer once a month or every 2 weeks if you chose to do that, and then keep everything deadheaded, and it should be good for you and last the entire summer all the way up until frost. Thanks so much for watching. Happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.